Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome to another edition of Dave's Daily Dive, where I dig into the charts, show you what some of the key levels are to watch on the S&P 500, oil, gold, whatever happens to be the soup du jour that day, what's moving, I talk about it, and then at the end I give you 5 Zacks Rank #1 strong buy stocks that are breaking out to new highs. So this way, if you're looking for an individual trading opportunity, you get that as well. First, we're going to look at the S&P 500, so sort of the broad market. Obviously, this has been an uptrend for the most part since Election Day, rallying much higher recently, getting up close to 2,400, and then, sort of retracing a little bit, getting down to the 50-day, had that sort of gnarly intraday move down to the 2319s, and then we've been rallying sort of ever since. But today, it was a little bit of an inside day, so that means we didn't get past the range of the previous session. So let's see what that looked like, though, on the intraday chart, just to give you some perspective. So really, here is the cash open. Dipped down, reversed higher, up through the VWAP, ran out of gas, came down to retest the lows, and on that retest the low, actually broke the low. I think it got to 23.4875, I believe, and then started to rally up, came back to the VWAP, rallied again, ran out of gas, rallied. So lots of choppiness. Overall bullish tilt to the market here today, but lots of choppiness, especially in the morning, and then it started to smooth out a little bit in the afternoon, but overall, just a real tough sort of grinded out session here on the S&P 500. So what else was going on in the market while the S&P was doing its thing? Well, one thing to keep an eye on is the British pound. So the Brexit vote, which we had several months ago, obviously is in the past. But what's not in the past is the actual process of kicking things off with Article 50, I believe it is, for the British. So that started yesterday, and the pound suffered as a result. You can see here, if we go out to the daily chart, that we've had a couple of days of selling off here in the British pound. But the grand scheme of things, not a big move. So this is what I wanted to point out to people, is if you're hearing this in the news, that this is like a major event, so far it really has not been. It led to a little bit of a move in the dollar, because if you had the pound doing that, at the same time you had the euro making a little bit of a move to the downside, coming from 109.50 down here to like 108. So a little bit of movement there, but nothing that spectacular. And overall, we're still pretty strong on the dollar. Interest rates, if you're looking at here, I'm looking at the 10-year Treasury futures. If it's moving up, then interest rates are moving down. So we had rates come down a little bit as there was a rally here in the 10-year futures. And really, that was something that started earlier on in the day and just kind of kept getting stronger as the day progressed. So you can see here just a rally in bonds pretty much the entire day, moving in the same direction. Not too much chopping around there with that. Okay, so the other thing I've been talking about a lot is gold, and this was another really choppy session for gold, but that's coming off the heels of yesterday's action, where there was a nice dip coming off of the highs that looked great in gold prices. Really, this was an intraday move that we saw going from this sort of 1257 level all the way down to that 1248. That happened really fast. But gold's been hanging in there as these rates have been starting to tick on down for the most part. So that's something I think is going to be a theme to keep an eye on. Is gold going to hold this sort of this 1265 level here to the upside? Is a major sort of line in the sand here for gold. So if some of you guys are holding GLD or GDXJ, or insert your favorite gold exposure there, that's something to consider. And so that's what we're looking at in the markets. I think one more thing to look at is the small caps and the Russell. These really had that huge rally just in the first couple of weeks after Trump was elected, because of the whole, we thought there was going to be a big boost to the domestic economy. And if you look, really since February 6th, we've been chopping sort of in the same range. This from 1330 up to 1415, so about an 85 point range there, 85 handle range for the Russell. Really haven't gotten out of it, but a little bit of optimism here now that we're talking about tax reform, and we have seen a little bit of a rally in the Russell. And if we look intraday on that, I think we can see that this was certainly the same sort of scenario that you had with the S&Ps this morning. Real choppy with a bullish bias, though. Came back, touched the VWAP not once but twice. Those were good buying opportunities intraday. But so that's what we're kind of looking at there on the Russell. So that's what we've got. Now let's go ahead and look at some individual stock ideas. So coming down the list here, I have Arbor Realty Trust. So it's actually, you guessed it, folks, a REIT that's breaking on up to the upside. I don't talk about REITs too much in these videos because, you know, I mean, you're looking for things that are Zacks Rank #1 strong buys that have kind of a more long-term sort of business, you know, building momentum behind them. But don't count these REITs out, because oftentimes you get in a situation where they're acquiring properties and they're getting bigger and they're adding shareholder value, and that's the case here. The other thing here is look at this huge uptick in volume recently. So this has certainly landed on somebody's radar over the short term, just in the last month, going from 746 up to 821 today. So that was ABR, the Arbor Realty Trust, okay? Now, another one I want to look at is Coherent, COHR. This stock, again, Zacks Rank #1 strong buy, just like all the stocks we talk about on this list. But this is one of those names where it's surprising, because these stocks come up, and when you see such movement and a stock that's trading at $200 per share, I always wonder, how have I not heard of this one before? Ticker COHR. But look at the move here. A little bit of choppiness coming into the election again. Still, it was still bid, though, for the most part. And then once election kicks off, we are off to the races. This has doubled since election day. Look at the huge gap up on earnings, going from 162 up to the 180s. That level is held very nicely, and now it's breaking out to the upside. So this is something you can chase a little bit, put a stop just below that $200 price level, and have a nice little risk versus reward scenario hooked up for yourself. I have one here that is in the Momentum Trader portfolio that I run here at Zacks. That is Innogen. So this one is more of those sort of slow and steady wins the race kind of deals, right? So there was kind of a little bit of a spike here in November, but for the most part, you don't get these huge spikes upwards and then these fierce retracements to the downside. Now this stock has been plugging along nicely, bouncing off of that 50-day moving average here most recently in November. We've got the commodity channel index that has been overbought for the most part, but really, as long as it stayed above the zero line, is basically just confirming a bullish trend, and that's been very nice. Buying the dips to the zero line is a great way to go. On this one, really, I'm hoping just for more of a breakout to the upside. We got this almost $80, basically 79.70s, almost 80. Which was a sort of a intraday high here after earnings. I think it certainly retests that level, and then it could push on through higher. So that was ticker INGN. A new addition to this list is Lumentum Holdings. Not to be confused with Lululemon or Momentum, but Lumentum Holdings, ticker LITE. Again, Zacks Rank #1 strong buy right now, and it's been a little bit choppy. So with this stock, I think I'd wait for it to come down a little bit, wait for this commodity channel index to maybe cross back to the zero line or even get a little bit oversold before jumping on board. This seems like a recent development with this kind of popping through onto these new highs. So you have this move here, increased volume in February, goes up to sort of 53 and change, pulls back, actually goes below the previous the previous resistance levels on this. That's not something you see every day. Typically, it'll come down and sort of test that level and go higher. They really tried to flush it, but it didn't work, and the buyers stepped in, started to bid it higher. But again, even today, you got a little bit of downside here, a little bit of negativity on the stock. I think I'd be waiting. I'd be much more comfortable buying in the high 40s on this one. So you don't necessarily have to chase everyone that comes up here, but interesting to see ticker LITE. That's Lumentum. Then we're going to get a little bit boring here with Children's Place, ticker PLCE. You don't really associate that with a hot momentum stock that's breaking on through to new highs, right? I mean, the Children's Place, come on. But that's definitely what you should have done, because the stock goes from 73 all the way up to 110 just in the 2 weeks following, or the month following the election. Retreated a little bit of this move. Let's see how much of this move it did. So one thing I like to do, I like to bust out my Fibonacci retracement levels, and I'll draw that. So I'll draw from the lows of election day to the highs at 113, and then you expect this to come down. The 38.2% level is really common. The 50% is more common. So this kind of found support prior to getting down to this 50% level, rallied higher. One thing I love about these fib levels is you can draw not just the retracement, but you can draw what's known as an extension. So we can come in here and add, in this case, it just matters the way you drew it, right? So I'm going to have to draw a negative or add a negative number here because I'm going in the opposite direction, okay? So sometimes the math is a little bit wonky. You just got to kind of, think about it real quickly to figure out where this number is going to go. So in this case, that gives us a nice target, that 38.2%, in this case, extension. So the 138.2% extension here from this move, and that puts Children's Place at 126.82. So that's sort of a short-term target there. Support is down here at the 109 and change. The one basically the highs here, which was where that gap, the bottom of this gap, or the top of this gap rather, was there. And again, you got a commodity channel index coming down the zero line and then bouncing, giving you a nice little buy signal, lots of momentum. So that is ticker PLCE. Okay, guys, so thanks so much for hanging out with me here on Dave's Daily Dive. I will see you all tomorrow. Twitter at Bartosiastics. See you guys soon.